I don't know what I hate wearing worse, your face or your body.
John Travolta and Nicolas Cage trade faces and masquerade as each other in Face Off, the new thriller that's one of 5 summer movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
But I'm really Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune because we've traded faces too. Well, actually, I'm Roger Ebert. Well, decide for yourself. Face Off is based on a clever plot gimmick that works surprisingly well. It stars John Travolta as an FBI man whose nemesis is a super terrorist played by Nicolas Cage. Cage is injured and goes into a coma, leaving a deadly biological bomb ticking in Los Angeles. How to find it? Travolta is approached with the idea of transplanting Cage's face onto his own skull to fool the terrorist's brother into revealing the secret.
So you want to take his face and mine?
Borrow. The procedure's completely reversible.
He has the transplant, and now the movie gets really tricky because Cage, as the terrorist, comes out of his coma and forces the doctor to put Travolta's face on him. Then that character goes to visit the other character in prison.
Wait, you good looking. You're hot. It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
Both actors have fun imitating the other's characteristic behavior. Here, for example, Travolta acts as if he's got the cocky, arrogant Cage character inside of him as the terrorist in disguise meets the FBI man's teenage daughter, who, of course, thinks this is her father.
Papa's got a brand new bag. Ow!
Meanwhile, the Travolta character, still wearing Cage's face, stages a prison break and pays a call on the terrorist's girlfriend, played by Gina Gershon.
I've said and done some things that made your life harder. I know.
How would you? When you left, you never looked back.
I just know.
And here's the scene that had to come sooner or later in Face Off, a face-off in which each man sees himself in the image of his enemy.
Oh, well. Plan B. Let's just kill each other.
But Face Off is not only a psychological thriller, it's directed by John Woo, the Hong Kong specialist in high-powered action, and it has chase scenes by land, by air, and by sea. I think it's a little too long, but I found the plot intriguing, the action inventive, and Cage and Travolta very entertaining as they toy with each other's star personas.
Oh, I liked it, too, on the basis of the performances more than the action sequences. And I enjoyed, and we've told the story here, I enjoyed discovering it for myself, I must say, that it kept getting more complicated. And as it gets more complicated, it is more intriguing because you do have enough time. It isn't wall-to-wall noise. There is time to watch the actors and figure out what they're doing, and that I enjoyed.
In all fairness to the viewers, we should say that although it was kind of complicated for me to try to set up those clips and explain them in the movie, after the switch takes place, you just always remember that whoever you're looking at, it really has the other guy inside of him, and then you can keep it straight. But it sounds more complicated than it is, really.
Okay, yeah. No, I think people figured that out.
No good.
I'm just surprised that this story hasn't been told before. It's such a good high-concept story.
Well, movies like Seconds use some of the same aspects.
A little bit. But the matched pair is what I like. Okay, next film. And our next film is called Dream with the Fishes, an annoying piece of Generation X angst about a drug-abusing petty thief playing big brother and nursemaid to a more uptight young man. Here the druggie, Brad Hunt, introduces the suicidal nerd, David Arquette, to his girlfriend, Catherine Irby.
Does it hurt? What?
I'm bleeding. Of course it hurts. You knew that.
I was just trying to make conversation.
Well, then you should have asked something interesting. Like, do you enjoy the pain? See, that's provocative. Leaves room for further questions.
The energy of the story switches, however, when the nerdy guy finds out that the druggie is terminally ill. Suddenly, we have two young men in existential overdrive.
What does it feel like?
What?
Knowing you're gonna die.
The guys take a trip together to the sick boy's hometown, where his aunt, a former stripper played by Kathy Moriarty, plays your typical colorful character. Nothing original here.
Oh, you like that? That was my costume in Remount, and I think it was 1988. They used to call me the helicopter. Want to know why? Because I was able to have both my tassels moving in opposite directions when I shimmied. And oh, baby, I could shimmy.
Dream with the Fishes is preposterous, annoying, and cloying. I was always aware that I was watching performances by those two leads, not characters. Young people acting out rather than behaving naturally. Thumbs down for me.
This movie really grew on me. It started out with a question mark. I didn't know where it was going to go and what it was going to do. Then, after the two people make a connection, and especially when the relationship with the Catherine Irby character is established, and then they go out to that small town and they meet the guy's father, played wonderfully by an actor named
J.E. Freeman.
J.E. Freeman.
Yes, he's good.
Then you find out that these people who pose, one as an existential, self-destructive person, the other one as a criminal, are actually just basically still vulnerable people who are trying to understand what they're here for and what they want to do next. And the human elements come out. And the Moriarty character wasn't just another colorful character. She was the one who was sympathetic. She was the other ear that he could...
I've seen that. Let me tell you, you have focused on the best part of the movie.
I sure have.
Focused on...
But that's most of the movie.
No, Roger, it isn't. But you focus on what it could have been. And the overplaying at the beginning where you were confused, and I was annoyed, let's say.
I wouldn't say it was overplaying. I would just say that I didn't know which... I was curious about what was going to happen.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I didn't like either lead character. I was more interested in the family.
The key moment is, and since it's at the beginning, I hope I'm not giving anything away, it's when the one guy wants to commit suicide, and the approach the other one takes to him. And the motives for that. That's original.
I think I've seen that before. I can't come up with a picture, Roger, but I think I've seen that before.
Almost every picture you've seen.
Yeah, I know you have.
I haven't seen it before.
You don't remember seeing it.
And neither do you, obviously, which is interesting since I don't claim to. When we come back, Cameron Diaz stars as a newlywed
but you claim not to.
whose old boyfriend comes to visit. Billy Zane and Harvey Keitel are also in Head Above Water.
Aren't you having breakfast? Or have you already had the house special?
What are you doing here? How did you get here?
I swam.
Oh, funny.
Would you believe I borrowed a friend's boat?
Since when do you have any friends?
Cameron Diaz plays a newlywed on an isolated Maine island who is surprised in that scene to receive an unexpected visit from her old boyfriend, played by Billy Zane. She loves her new husband, a judge played by Harvey Keitel, but still has feelings for Zane, and while her husband is away, Zane spends the night at the lonely cottage. Apparently, no hanky-panky takes place, but in the morning, knowing her husband is returning, Diaz wants Zane to leave quickly. However, it's a little complicated to get rid of him.
Kent! Kent!
Keitel, as a judge, naturally knows all the legal angles and realizes it will look as if he killed his wife's ex-lover in a fit of rage. So, what should they do?
Get his clothes. Let's be done with it. Now what?
They're at the bottom of the bay.
What?
I told you I panicked.
How the hell am I supposed to deliver him without clothes?
The plot thickens when their neighbor, who was a childhood friend of Diaz's, played by Craig Sheffer, discovers them as they're preparing to sink the dead body to hide the evidence.
Come on, let me give you a hand. There you go. Ready, George?
One complication leads into another as the judge permanently conceals the body just when he shouldn't have.
You laid the steps.
Plot twists are ingenious, but eventually they begin to seem purely mechanical. I realized I didn't really believe any of the characters or care about them. By the end, the movie was also treating them like cartoons. Head Above Water has a certain macabre charm, but it's basically just an exercise in plot construction and I can't recommend it.
I can recommend it, Roger. I know that what you're saying is, in a sense, true, that at a certain point, you're really seeing the plot sticking out more than the... But in terms of the characters, I thought that her character, Cameron Diaz's character, was absolutely credible, of a newlywed in this situation. You buy her in the beginning. Keitel, wonderful actor, as you know, and I saw him...
Was he good in this film?
He, again, is some...
Did you think he was a judge?
Yes. Yes, okay. I thought he was a judge, and it, and it's sending out echoes off of that celebrated case in New York with the judge who got in trouble. So I thought of all that, and the other guys, the friends, they were all credible in this entertainment. Well, it's not a documentary.
I know that you are the #1 admirer of Cameron Diaz in the entire.
I got a lot of company.
And I think she's a wonderful actress too. Yeah. But I'll tell you, this plot and these characters never reached critical mass, and I'll give you the proof of that. The comparable movie, in terms of the complexity of its construction, is Bound. And in Bound, it does. It does get takeoff velocity, and this one doesn't.
Bound made my 10 best last year. This one won't, but it's a good picture. Coming up next, the hero of the Beat Generation, Neil Cassidy, and his love 'em and leave 'em lifestyle is explored in The Last Time I Committed Suicide, co-starring Keanu Reeves.
I see no greatness in myself. Simple-minded, childlike, insipid kind of awkward feeling, moronic kind of awkward feeling, adolescent.
That's Thomas Jane as charismatic Neil Cassidy, who with his buddy Jack Kerouac was one of the heroes and pillars of the Beat Generation, the first of the post-World War II rebels, in this beautifully made new film, The Last Time I Committed Suicide, which marks the debut of writer-director Stephen Kay as a big talent to watch. I was dazzled by the filmmaking as it tells the story of Neil Cassidy, a major icon to such counterculture writers as Ken Kesey and Lawrence Ferlinghetti. But the film focuses on his inability to commit to anyone, even a beautiful young woman named Joan, played by Claire Forlani. She loves Neil, but she's attempted suicide as the film opens and is abandoned by him during her hospital stay and left alone again after they're reunited.
Now listen. I won't be gone long, I promise. I'll be mercurial. I'll kiss you when I get back. Then we'll start a life together. Just you and me, kid.
Neil runs from anyone who would possess him, spending time with a local pool hall pal, played by the fine actor Keanu Reeves.
What are you doing here, anyway? Would they kick you out of the pool hall?
As a matter of fact, yes. Said I was harassing the patrons. You believe that?
Yeah.
Reeves' character is even less able to relate meaningfully to a woman, and maybe this is saying something about the Beat Generation. He asks Cassidy to set him up with a former flame, a teenage girl, for sex.
What? Is she coming?
Maybe.
Oh, you are my god, man.
The film was photographed by Bobby Bukowski, and it's really fine work. Most film biographies go wildly overboard in praising their subjects. The Last Time I Committed Suicide embraces the energy of Neil Cassidy, but also reveals his fear of attachment. It's a fine film, and I will probably see it again just to admire its visual style.
I will probably not see it again, Gene. I thought it was a major bore that didn't even give me the slightest idea what it was about Neil Cassidy that inspired all of these men. Now, I read On the Road, and he, of course, is the original for the character of Dee Moriarty in that book. The fire, the charisma that he had in that book is totally missing here. Here he just seems like a directionless, aimless, self-indulgent, shallow, and uninteresting person who never does anything. There's another movie that was made recently about Robert Howard, the man who created Conan the Barbarian. And you can see in that character, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, the seeds of an artist, the seeds of a creator. Here, you just have some guy.
No, absolutely not. He's great-looking, number one, so he's charismatic to men and women. Number two, he has a subtext to him, which is that he can't commit. That's the story here.
Why does that inspire anyone? He can't commit.
It didn't say it inspired anyone. It's what the filmmaker wanted to say about him.
So he can't commit. He's a louse, in other words.
Roger, the movie...
He treats everybody in this movie pretty badly.
Roger.
Not that I object to that. It's just that he's not interesting when he does it.
He isn't intentionally mean. He can't help himself. He's addicted to non-committal. And Roger, the movie industry is full of characters, and you love movies about creeps, louses, and this is another one.
I like interesting creeps and interesting louses.
He's interesting, and he was interesting to a lot of people who are even better writers than you and me.
Yes, but, Gene, he The original person was interesting, not this character.
In my mind, he was.
Jack Kerouac, and I'm sure Ferlinghetti, who was alive,
yeah,
and maybe watching this show, would probably laugh at this movie.
We'll find out. I will try and contact Lawrence Ferlinghetti and ask if he laughed at the movie. When we come back, a French woman loses her cat. It gets a new start in life in When the Cat's Away.
When the Cat's Away tells the story of a Parisian named Chloe who lives a quiet and lonely life and decides one day that she needs to get away. That means she needs to find someone to take care of her cat during her vacation. She appeals for advice to the waiter at her local cafe.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Vous êtes Madame René? Que vous voulez, Madame René? Non, c'est parce que j'ai un petit chat et je cherche quelqu'un pour le garder. C'est moi, Madame René, entrez.
And Madame René is one of the most unforgettable characters in the film, played by Renée Lacombe, who is not an actress, but is in fact playing herself, as many of the characters in this movie do. She is a lady who takes care of cats. Chloe, played by Garance Clavel, returns from vacation to receive some very bad news from Madame René.
Pendant toute la semaine, ça a été. Et puis il y a 3 ou 4 jours, j'ai laissé la fenêtre de la cuisine ouverte. Depuis, je ne l'ai pas revue.
Chloe doesn't know many of her neighbors, but now she meets some, including the simple-minded Jamel, who is thought to be an excellent finder of lost cats. Meeting all these new people makes Chloe aware of how lonely she is, and she talks about dating while working at her job as a makeup artist.
Ouais, enfin, je sais pas, moi je trouve que c'est vraiment la misère de rencontrer les gens par petites annonces. Ah, qu'est-ce que vous avez contre les annonces, là, toutes les deux? Pas rien. J'ai rencontré mon mec par annonce, c'est pas la honte, hein, non plus.
When the Cat's Away was written and directed by a new French filmmaker named Cédric Clapiche, who in a low-key way does a lot of things at the same time. He comments on loneliness and the way big cities can be both hostile and friendly, and he expresses sadness at the way the old Bastille neighborhood of Paris is being taken over by the chic and the trendy. In this new Paris, there may not be room for people like Madame René. This is a very touching little film.
Yes, you focused on Madame René, and I'll focus on Chloe, because I think that this character, and the reason that I really liked her so much is I think she stands for a lot of people in Paris and everywhere else in the world. And that is, I think there are women who are, and men for that matter, who are put in touch at some point in their lives with their loneliness, as we see someone discover that. And I love that about the screenplay, that she doesn't start out that way. So we sense her discovery, so it means more to her, it means more to us, and how she solves the problem. And all I'll say about the picture is, the end, there is a shot of someone running, and I cared about what they were running to, although I never got to see it. And it is a powerful film in that way.
Very sweet. Okay, coming up next, Gene's video pick of the week, a lavish romance set against the background of pre-revolutionary France.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
My video pick of the week is Ridicule, a smart, stylish costume drama of 18th century France, when a popular sport among the upper class was to trade verbal barbs at dinner parties and court functions. This is the Louis XVI version of today's trash talking. Ridicule stars Fanny Ardant as a court favorite and Charles Berling as her victim.
Que les champions s'affrontent.
Pourquoi quitter Clermont-Ferrand? La bonne société y est comme ailleurs, et la mauvaise est excellente.
Pour ma part, je ne fréquente plus les filles publiques. Elles sont aussi dépravées que les femmes de bien.
On peut dire qu'il est plus facile de mourir pour une femme que d'en trouver une qui le mérite.
Ridicule is just out now on home video. I do recommend it. It's my video pick of the week, a beautifully made motion picture. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. A lot of disagreements. But we start with 2 thumbs up for Face Off, well directed by John Woo. A split vote on Dream with the Fishes, about Generation Xers trying to find meaning in their life when faced with death. I thought it was annoying and cheap. Roger was moved toward the end. A split vote on the Hitchcock-like black comedy, Head Above Water, with Cameron Diaz and Harvey Keitel. I enjoyed the energy of the piece and the player's conviction in the material, but Roger didn't believe a single character was real. Another split vote on Stephen Kay's The Last Time I Committed Suicide, about Beat Generation demigod Neil Cassidy. Lawrence Ferlinghetti, Were You Laughing? And finally, 2 thumbs up for When the Cat's Away, an affecting comic drama about a young woman growing up in Paris.
Okay, remember you can now check our votes and hear our reviews of recent movies at our website. The address is www.siskel-ebert.com. That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Men in Black, starring Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith as government anti-alien agents.
I knew it. This is an alien, and you guys are from some government agency trying to keep it under wraps.
No. And also Out to Sea, starring Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, who get free cruise tickets but have to pretend to be experienced dance partners. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
The Illinois Bureau of Tourism, who invites you to experience the heart, soul, rhythm, and blues of Chicago. Call 1-800-2CONNECT.
By refinancing your mortgage at the money store, you can lower your interest rate and reduce your monthly payments, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-LOAN-YES.
This delicious moment was brought to you by our low-fat and no-fat ice creams.
I am your son. Now on pay-per-view, I'm going to dedicate my life to tracking you down. Mel Gibson, a Ron Howard film. Give me back my son! Ransom, rated R.